In the old Medina Fez, a city woven from stone and shadow, the stories the living pretend to forget are remembered by the alleys themselves. It's in these labyrinthine passages, when the evening call to prayer fades and the lanterns tremble awake, that our story begins. Karim had returned after 10 years away. He'd gone to Casablanca chasing dreams but came back with only the bitter taste of regret. To his neighbors, he said he was visiting his mother's grave. The truth was far heavier. He was fleeing a profound silence that had settled in his chest, a hollow space where his heart used to be. For 2 nights, he wrestled with his memories. On the third, sleep abandoned him completely. Restless and haunted, he found himself walking deeper into the Medina than any sane person would dare after midnight. The shops were shuttered, their wooden doors like blind eyes. Even the stray cats, usually the kings of the night, had vanished. The air grew still, and then, a sound thread of Gnawa music, slow and sorrowful, drifted through the darkness. A woman's voice, singing in a dialect of Darija, so ancient it felt like a prayer whispered from the grave. And then, a chilling realization froze him in place. The voice, ... it knew his name. Compelled by a force he couldn't understand, he followed the haunting melody. It led him past the sleeping tanneries, their scent still hanging in the air. Past ancient stones rumored to sweat sacrificial blood on the holiest of nights. The song pulled him onward, deeper into the maze, until he reached a dead-end alley. There, a doorway hung with a faded indigo cloth seemed to breathe the music outward, a pulsing, hypnotic invitation. He knew he shouldn't. Every instinct screamed at him to turn back, but his feet carried him forward. Karim stepped through the curtain. The room inside was bathed in the soft, flickering glow of a single oil lamp. A woman sat on a low bench, her back perfectly straight. She was fully veiled in a black melfa, a traditional wrap that left only her kohl-lined eyes visible. The intricate patterns of henna on her hands snaked up her wrists, seeming to writhe and dance in the shifting lamplight. Her voice, when she spoke, was gentle, like a mother soothing a child. "Sit, my son," she said. "You carry too much sorrow for one heart." He sat, not by his own will, but as if his body was no longer his to command. She poured him tea, a fragrant blend of amber and wormwood, its steam curling in the quiet air. And then she began to speak. She spoke of things no stranger could possibly know. The small white scar on his knee from a childhood fall into an irrigation ditch. The lullaby his mother sang to him the night before she passed away. The exact way his voice cracked when he begged the woman he loved in Casablanca not to leave. With every word she uttered, another tightly wound, not of grief inside him, loosened. Tears he hadn't been able to shed for years began to stream down his face, silent and unbidden. He was breaking apart, and being put back together, all at once. How do you know me?" he managed to whisper, his voice thick with emotion. She didn't answer with words. Instead, she rose gracefully from the bench, still completely covered, and began to hum the same hypnotic Gnawa melody that had drawn him there. Her voice was no longer just a sound. It felt like a rope, wrapping around his soul, pulling him closer. She barely moved. A slight, almost imperceptible sway, yet the entire room seemed to move with her. The very walls felt like they were breathing in time with a hidden, unheard drum. When she turned and walked toward a darker part of the house, something deep inside him, something beyond his control, compelled him to follow. She led him down a narrow staircase he hadn't noticed before, a staircase that seemed to descend into the very earth, a place that had no right to exist beneath the packed streets of the Medina. They entered a windowless room with a floor of packed earth. The air was cool and smelled of damp soil and something else, something ancient. In the flickering half-light of the lamp she carried, the hem of her long black melfa brushed against the ground. For a fraction of a second, the cloth caught on a loose rusty nail sticking out of the dirt floor. The fabric lifted just for an instant, just enough. Beneath the intricate henna that climbed her ankles like forbidden scripture were not feet. Karim's eyes widened in horror. One was the black cloven hoof of a goat, shining like polished obsidian in the dim light. The other was the gnarled, cracked and bleeding pad of a camel that looked as if it had walked the desolate, empty quarter for 1,000 years. A scream formed in Karim's throat, but it died before it could escape, choked by a terror so absolute it stole the air from his lungs. He looked up from the monstrous sight to her face. The veil did not fall. Her features remained hidden, but her eyes changed. In their dark depths he saw not one woman but a multitude. They became the eyes of every woman who ever waited at a well for a lover who never returned. Every promise broken under a canopy of stars. Every grave that swallowed love too young. A new voice filled the subterranean room, not her gentle one, but a chorus of 1,000 mourning women speaking through her mouth at once. "You came searching for what you lost," they whispered in unison, a sound of collective, eternal sorrow. "Now you will stay with us forever." She did not kiss him. She did not embrace him. She simply raised her henna'd palm and placed it flat against his chest, directly over his heart. A cold, unlike anything he had ever felt, poured through the cloth, through his skin, and into his veins. It was the cold of the grave, the cold of absolute loneliness. It froze the blood, silenced the beat of his heart, and extinguished the last flicker of his soul. Hours later, when the first light of dawn touched the sky and the muezzin's call to Fazia echoed through the city, the indigo cloth over the doorway hung perfectly still. There were no footprints in the dust of the alley, none entering, and none leaving. The only thing that remained was the faint, lingering scent of amber and wormwood, and far, far beneath the city, deeper than any living foot has ever trod, a creature with mercifully hidden feet and ancient grieving eyes began to hum that Gnawa lullaby once more, waiting, always waiting for the next heartbroken man who has forgotten the way back home. In Fez, they have a saying: if you're walking alone after the sun has set and you hear a woman singing Gnawa music, you must cover your ears, recite the Ayat al-Kursi prayer 7 times, and then run. Don't look back, just run. Most people laugh it off as an old wives' tale, but most people have never seen what walks, fully veiled, through the darkened alleys, with henna climbing its ankles like chains, forever searching for the hearts that still dare to feel. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the shadows of Fez. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tales from the world's forgotten corners. Stay safe, and always be wary of the songs you hear in the night.